Judge Frank Caprio glances down at the file. His eyebrows lift slightly. 6 tickets? In 1 week? That's not common. He looks up, and then the entire courtroom changes. The heavy wooden doors open slowly, and an elderly woman steps in, her movements hesitant yet dignified. She holds a white cane in one hand, the universal sign of blindness, and in the other, a leash guiding her gentle golden retriever. The dog, wearing a bright blue service vest, leads her carefully toward the bench. Each step is cautious but graceful, like she's walking through the world guided by trust alone. Caprio immediately softens. His voice, normally firm but kind, becomes even gentler. Judge Caprio. Good morning, ma'am. Please, take your time. The woman smiles faintly, her face lined with age and quiet strength. She reaches the defendant's stand, feeling for the microphone. The dog sits beside her, alert but calm. Judge Caprio. You've received 6 parking tickets in just 1 week. That's quite unusual. How did this happen? The room shifts. Everyone leans in slightly. You can feel the tension mixed with curiosity. What could possibly be the story behind this? The woman clears her throat softly. Her voice trembles, not out of fear, but because every word costs her effort. Mary. Your Honor, I'm blind. I can't drive. But those tickets, they're all mine. The audience murmurs. Even the clerk glances up, surprised. Judge Caprio. You can't drive? Then how did these tickets happen? She takes a deep breath, clutching her cane a little tighter. Mary. After my husband passed away, I kept our car. Sometimes, my neighbors help me run errands. They mean well, but they don't always park correctly. Every ticket they got, I paid for. It's still under my name. Judge Caprio. So, you're telling me you've taken responsibility for something you didn't do? Mary. I guess so, Your Honor. But those neighbors were just trying to help. I couldn't blame them. The golden retriever looks up at her, tail flicking once, sensing the tremor in her voice. Judge Caprio. What's your dog's name? Mary. Max. He's been my eyes for 7 years. The audience softens. Even through the stillness, there's a shared emotion. Empathy, curiosity, and something unspoken. Admiration. Caprio's gaze moves from the woman to Max. He leans slightly forward. Judge Caprio. And you said 6 tickets? All in 1 week? Mary. Yes, sir. I think it happened because I had to go to the hospital that week. Max got sick. I had to find people to drive me there. I didn't know they parked in restricted zones. Judge Caprio. You've had a rough week, haven't you? Mary. Well, Your Honor, when you can't see, a rough week just means you're still alive to feel it. Judge Caprio. Mrs. Thompson. I don't think this is just about parking tickets anymore. Mary doesn't speak. She lowers her head, one hand on Max's collar. Caprio glances at the courtroom clock, but time seems irrelevant. For the next few moments, the courtroom is no longer about fines or law or rules. It's about humanity. Judge Caprio. We'll hear your story, ma'am, all of it. The courtroom feels heavier now, not because of the air, but because of the story that lingers. Judge Frank Caprio looks at Mary, his expression softening with each second. This isn't just another morning in Providence. This is something more human, something that reminds him why he sits on that bench. He adjusts his glasses, flips through the citation file again. 6 violations, all within 7 days. The total fine? Over $300. He looks up at her. Judge Caprio. Mrs. Thompson, these tickets, they're all for parking in prohibited zones, mostly near the medical district. Why were you going there so often? Mary's lips tremble before she answers. She takes a moment, as if replaying each of those days in her mind. Mary. Because Max was sick, Your Honor. My dog. Her voice cracks slightly on the word dog. The room falls silent again. Mary. He's my guide, my best friend. my only family left. When he fell ill, I took him to the animal hospital near Elm Street every day that week. I couldn't drive, so I asked different neighbors to take me. They parked where they could. I didn't think about the tickets. She smiles faintly, but there's no joy behind it, just exhaustion. Mary, when you can't see, Your Honor, you don't just lose sight. You lose independence. You start depending on kindness, and sometimes kindness comes with mistakes. Judge Caprio lowers his head for a second, her words cut deep. He knows that kind of quiet dignity, the kind that only people who've lost much carry. The camera pans to the audience. A young woman wiping tears, a man shaking his head slowly, a police officer looking down, moved. Judge Caprio, how long have you been blind, Mrs. Thompson? Mary, since I was 23. Car accident. My husband was driving. He didn't make it. The words hit the room like a whisper wrapped in thunder. The judge exhales, visibly shaken. Judge Caprio, I'm sorry to hear that. Mary, it was a long time ago. You learn to hear the world instead of seeing it. Sometimes that's enough. Judge Caprio. And your neighbors, the ones who helped drive you, are they aware of these tickets? Mary, they are now. They offered to pay me back, but I refused. Judge Caprio, you refused? Mary, yes, Your Honor, because they were there when no one else was. People see me walking with Max, but they don't see the nights I spend alone, the meals I skip, the bills I struggle to read. They just see a woman with a dog. Her voice softens, almost fading into the stillness. Mary, so I'd rather take their mistakes than lose their kindness. That sentence, I'd rather take their mistakes than lose their kindness. It hits everyone differently. Some feel guilt, some feel admiration, but everyone feels something. Judge Caprio. He looks down again at the tickets, flipping through them like pages of a story that doesn't belong in a courtroom, but in a book about resilience. Judge Caprio. These fines add up, Mrs. Thompson. But, tell me honestly, were you able to pay them? Mary. No, sir. Not yet. I tried. But between Max's medicine, the vet bills, and my rent, she pauses, her breath trembling. Mary. Sometimes I choose between his medicine and my dinner. The courtroom collectively freezes. Even the sound of the old clock ticking seems too loud now. Caprio leans back, pressing his lips together, trying to balance justice and compassion. Judge Caprio. You know, Mrs. Thompson, the law was made to protect people, but sometimes life doesn't fit inside the law's lines. Mary. I know, Your Honor. I didn't come here to fight. I came here because I thought maybe the world would understand just once. Her tone is not bitter. It's humble, sincere, and heartbreakingly pure. Caprio stares at her, and then at Max. Judge Caprio. And how is Max doing now? Mary. He's getting weaker. The vet says he may not have long. A lump forms in Caprio's throat. His expression softens completely. He looks at the golden retriever, those kind, loyal eyes that have seen more of life's truth than most humans ever will. Mary. He saved me, Your Honor. Every day since the accident, he's been my reason to get out of bed. I can't imagine a day without him. Tears glisten on her cheeks now. Max looks up, tilting his head, sensing her pain. Caprio swallows hard, unable to hide his emotions anymore. Judge Caprio. Mrs. Thompson, you've been through more than most people could bear. Mary. Life's not about what we lose, sir. It's about what we love enough to keep going for. Judge Caprio, softly. Mrs. Thompson, I think we've heard enough about the tickets. Now, I'd like to hear about you. She tilts her head, confused. Mary. About me? Judge Caprio. Yes, because sometimes understanding a person tells us more than understanding a case. Mary takes a deep breath, and as the light from the courtroom window falls across her face and Max's golden fur, you can feel that the story is about to turn from a case into a confession. The courtroom feels like it's holding its breath. Judge Frank Caprio leans forward, resting his elbows gently on the bench, his eyes soft but searching. Mary sits in silence, one hand still placed lovingly on Max's golden fur. The judge's voice comes slow and careful, like he doesn't want to break the fragile calm that settled over the room. Judge Caprio, Mrs. Thompson, earlier you said Max is getting weaker. Would you tell me what's happening? Mary's fingers tighten on the leash. For a moment, she doesn't answer. Then she nods, slowly, painfully. Mary, he's dying, Your Honor. A murmur runs through the courtroom. But Mary doesn't flinch. She sits steady, the kind of strength that only comes from loving something enough to hurt for it. Mary, he's been my guide dog for 9 years. The doctors say his kidneys are failing. I knew it was coming, but I didn't think it would be this soon. She lowers her head, her voice trembling. Mary, he's all I have, sir. When I lost my sight, people said life would get darker. But Max brought back the light. He saw for me. He lived for me. And now, her voice trails off, lost between memory and heartbreak. Caprio's lips part, but no words come. He looks at the old dog lying quietly beside her chair, chest rising and falling, slower than before. Judge Caprio, does he still guide you, Mrs. Thompson? Mary, every step, even when he's too tired. He still insists on walking me to the mailbox. He still waits for my hand when I wake up. He's brave, braver than most people I've known. The courtroom grows heavy again. You can hear a sniffle from the gallery. A young man wipes his eyes quietly. Judge Caprio, you said you brought him to the vet every day that week. Was that when you got those tickets? Mary, yes, sir. He was having seizures. The vet tried new medicine, but it wasn't working. Every day I went back praying it would help. I didn't think about the tickets, the signs. I just thought, maybe today he'll get better. Her words fall like soft rain, each one heavier than the last. Mary, the last time I went, they told me there was nothing more they could do. They said to take him home, make him comfortable. I remember holding him, whispering that I wasn't ready to say goodbye. Judge Caprio, Mrs. Thompson, you didn't just break a traffic rule. You broke your heart trying to save someone who saved you. Mary, Your Honor, I wasn't planning to say this, but I brought Max with me today because I wanted him to see you. I wanted him to meet the man people say has the kindest heart in this city. I wanted him to know the world still has good men. Judge Caprio, Mrs. Thompson, you've already given him the best of this world. Love, Mary. Do you know the funny part, Your Honor? I used to think I rescued him, but I think he rescued me. She laughs softly through her tears, the kind of laugh that breaks you more than a cry ever could. Caprio exhales, visibly moved. He looks down at his notes but can't seem to read anymore. The legal documents mean nothing now. The truth is right in front of him. He finally speaks, his voice steady but warm. Judge Caprio, you know, Mrs. Thompson, my father used to tell me something. He said, when you judge, don't just look at the law, look at the person. The law shows what's right, but the heart shows what's fair. Mary listens closely, her tears glistening under the courtroom light. Judge Caprio, and today I see someone who's carried more weight than any law could measure. I see a woman who's lived with courage, and a friend who's given her more than sight. He's given her life. Mary, he's tired now, but he's listening. Caprio looks at the dog one more time, his eyes soft and shimmering. Judge Caprio, then I'll make sure he hears this, Mrs. Thompson. Whatever this court decides today, it will honor his loyalty and yours. Mary lowers her head, whispering a faint, thank you. Caprio takes a deep breath, setting his pen down. Judge Caprio, Mrs. Thompson, before I give my verdict, I want to ask you one more thing. Why did you really come here today? Mary hesitates, then lifts her face toward his voice. Mary, because, Your Honor, when you lose everything you can see, you start looking for people you can believe in. I came here hoping I'd find one. Judge Caprio, Mrs. Thompson, I believe in you. Mary's lips curve into the faintest smile. Mary, then I already won, Your Honor. She squeezes Max's paw again. The dog lets out a soft breath, peaceful, trusting, knowing he's safe. The judge looks down at his papers. 6 citations, 6 lines of ink, but none of them can capture the story of a blind woman and her dying dog who came to court looking not for justice, but for compassion. He gently folds the file closed, his voice quiet but resolute. Judge Caprio. Mrs. Thompson, this court has heard your case, but more than that, it's heard your heart. The gavel remains still, because in this moment, justice doesn't need sound, just silence and understanding. The courtroom remains still. You can hear the ticking of the old wall clock, a faint echo between heartbeats. Mary sits silently, her hand resting on Max's head. The golden retriever breathes softly, his fur shimmering under the pale morning light. Judge Frank Caprio adjusts his glasses slowly and exhales, staring down at the stack of citations in front of him. 6 pieces of paper, 6 moments when the law said, guilty. But today, the law seems smaller than what sits before him. He clears his throat softly. Judge Caprio. Mrs. Thompson, when I came to this bench, my father gave me a simple lesson. He said, son, every case has 2 sides, one on paper and one in the heart. He pauses, his voice gentle but firm. Judge Caprio, what I've heard today isn't about tickets. It's about loyalty, about love, about a friendship between a woman who cannot see and a dog who saw for her. Mary lowers her head, her lips trembling. Judge Caprio, you came here not to ask for mercy, but to tell the truth. And sometimes, Mrs. Thompson, that's all justice needs, the truth of a good heart. Judge Caprio, I can tell he's a good boy. He's done his duty well. Mary smiles faintly, whispering, Mary, he's my hero. Caprio nods, his eyes misting again. He removes his glasses, wipes them slowly, not because they're dirty, but because his vision is blurring with tears. Judge Caprio, Mrs. Thompson, I've seen thousands of cases in this court, but today you reminded me why I sit here. It's not to punish, it's to understand. The courtroom is completely silent now. Even the clerk looks down, moved. Caprio lifts one of the tickets from the stack and examines it carefully, then places it aside. Then another, and another. Finally, he speaks. Judge Caprio, I find that the circumstances surrounding these violations are beyond what this court considers ordinary. They are rooted in compassion, not negligence. In love, not disregard. He places the last ticket down gently. Judge Caprio, therefore I am dismissing all charges. There will be no fines, no fees, no penalties. This court finds you not guilty. Gasps ripple through the courtroom, not out of surprise, but out of relief. Mary covers her mouth, trembling, her eyes filling with tears. Mary, oh, thank you, Your Honor. Thank you so much. Caprio raises a hand gently. Judge Caprio, don't thank me, Mrs. Thompson. Thank Max. He's the one who reminded us what loyalty looks like. Mary turns toward her dog, her fingers stroking his fur as her tears fall freely now. Mary, did you hear that, Max? You did it, baby. You did it. Caprio leans back in his chair, exhaling deeply, visibly holding back emotion. He turns slightly toward the courtroom camera, not performing, but reflecting. Judge Caprio. Ladies and gentlemen, we often see people here at their worst, angry, careless, defiant. But today, we saw something rare. A woman who came with nothing to hide and everything to love. He pauses, his voice trembling slightly. Judge Caprio. We live in a world where people forget that behind every mistake, there's a story. Behind every fine, there's a face. Mrs. Thompson, you reminded us that sometimes compassion is the truest form of justice. A quiet sob escapes from someone in the audience. Even the police officer standing by the door discreetly wipes his eye. Caprio looks back at Mary. Judge Caprio, tell me something. What will you do now? Mary smiles weakly through her tears. Mary, I'll take Max home. I'll cook his favorite meal, chicken and rice, and I'll sit beside him and thank him for every day he gave me. Caprio nods gently, his eyes softening. Judge Caprio, then that's exactly what you should do. He picks up his gavel, but before striking it, he hesitates. Instead of the usual firm bang, he lowers it slowly and taps it softly, once. Judge Caprio, case dismissed with love. The courtroom erupts, not in applause, but in tears and whispers of admiration. Even the stenographer pauses her typing, overwhelmed by the moment. Mary bends down, wrapping her arms around Max, her tears falling into his golden fur. Caprio watches quietly, his eyes glistening under the soft light filtering through the courtroom windows. Judge Caprio, my father was right. Mercy is never wasted. Judge Frank Caprio remains seated at his bench, his gavel resting quietly beside his hand. He's not writing notes. He's not signing papers. He's just sitting there, thinking. His eyes drift toward the chair where Mary sat earlier, the blind woman who came with nothing but honesty and a dog named Max. He can still hear her trembling voice. He can still see the way her hands gently held Max's leash, like it was the last thread connecting her to courage. He leans back, sighing softly. In his long career, he's seen thousands of faces, thousands of excuses, thousands of tears, some real, some rehearsed. But what he saw today, it wasn't about guilt or innocence. It was about humanity. Judge Caprio, the law tells us what's right, but compassion reminds us why we choose to be right. Mary walks slowly out of the building, guided by Max. Her cane taps gently against the steps as she descends, and Max walks carefully beside her, his head turning every few seconds, as if checking the world for her safety. A reporter nearby watches silently, lowering her camera. There's something sacred about this moment. A small woman, blind to the world, but led by love. Mary reaches the sidewalk and kneels down beside Max. She removes a treat from her coat pocket and places it in front of him. Mary, you did so well, my love, so well. Max wags his tail softly, resting his head on her knee. Mary can't see it, but she feels it. The warmth of his trust, the quiet loyalty in that simple gesture. The world remembers those who are fair, but it never forgets those who are kind. Judge Caprio, my father was right. Compassion is the highest law.